Okay.
All right. Welcome everyone to today's presentation. We're very excited to have a great guest speaker, Dr. Maria Brovelli from the Politecnico de Milano. With her, we're going to have some of her PhD students, Carolina Arias, Marco Menghini, Monia Molinari, and Giorgio Zamboni. They're going to be telling us about the work that they're doing and some of the issues of FOSS4G in Europe. So I know we have people linking from Rome, from Mexico City, from Durango in Mexico, and probably some people in Boston also. So welcome to the seminar. I will ask you, to all of you, if you could please mute your microphones. If you roll the mouse to the lower part of the window, you will see on the lower left microphone icon, be sure that it's crossed in red, so that only Maria is the one that has control of the microphone. And also pay attention to the messages that you will get every now and then. We have a conference manager that will be communicating with you if there is something. And also at the end, you can type your questions and the manager will give us the questions to mention them in the microphone. So thank you very much, Maria, for taking the time. I know it's late over there in Como. We appreciate all of you, Carolina, Marco, Monia, and Giorgio, for staying so late for us. And now you have control, and we are recording.
Okay, so thank you, first of all, to Rafael for having organized this webinar. We are very happy to be here, even if it is in fact late because it's 8 p.m., but it's a wonderful experience and we are very excited about that. I want to welcome everybody and to say to say you hello. Unfortunately, Giorgio is not here because he had another commitment, and therefore here you have only Maria and Carolina, Marco and Monia. And I will present also the part of Giorgio who is missing. Okay, I want to start to give you shortly an introduction about the lab here in Como. And then after my presentation, that is more or less an historical presentation, I will leave the word to Monia, Carolina, and Marco, and then Giorgio, who is again myself, to tell you something about the recent researches that we are doing here at Politecnico. So first of all, when we started this adventure, we started, not really I started because Carolina, Marco and Monia are too young. I started in 1994. I had my first course in digital cartography, and it was the first course in which we introduced in Italy GIS as a practice in the lab. And this first course was a course of the Politecnico di Milano, here in the campus of Como, where now I'm the vice rector. Then in 1998, we decided to give birth to the Geomatic Lab. And in the same year, we had the first students working with grass. At that time, speaking about open source, means speaking about GRASS, because it was the only open source GIS at that time available. So we started at the end of the last century working with GRASS, and in fact, in 2000, we decided to organize the first meeting of the Italian users of GRASS. It was an Italian meeting, but was enough successful. I remember that there were around 70 people, so a big number of people, and we decided also published the proceeding of this conference with a new first issue of a review that is Geomatics workbooks. And you can find these, if you are interested in something historical, you can find the papers and this review available in internet. So at that point, we decided to try to organize an international conference. And in fact, in 2002, we organized in Trento the first open source free software GIS grass user conference. And was also a success because there were 140 attendees. So it was a really big number at that time. And we had the occasion of meeting some people like, for instance, the Professor Venkatesh Raghavan, who decided to organize in 2004 the first meeting that was called the Free and Open Source Software for Geospatial, Geoinformatics. That is more or less the same name and is the acronym that is used also today for the conference related to the free and open source software. So this is those are two pictures of that conference. You can see the Italian delegation at that conference, and you see me sit here or here in the middle with some colleagues from Italy. Then at that point in 2007, we decided to start the Italian association of that was called GFOSS. And in 2008, the GFOSS became the OSGeo Italian chapter. Then we continued the activity, and in 2012, we had the opportunity of hosting the first NASA Whirlwind Summer School here in Como. And we had the opportunity of meeting Patrick Hogan, which is the project leader of NASA Whirlwind. It was a very nice and exciting experience. At the same time, in 2012, we became a knowledge partner of ZOO. ZOO is an open WPS, that means Web Processing Service platform. We are there in 2013 at the Geo for All initiative, that is an initiative in which your lab is also involved. And I'm also one of the members of the advisory board. And then also in 2013, we had the first NASA Whirlwind Europa Challenge that was held in Florence. And we are very proud about that because we are one of the team who won this challenge. You can see here the winners of the challenge. This is me, so it's not the winner, but you can see here two of the winners of the challenge. Then in 2014, we had the second challenge at the FOSS4G Europe conference, the first FOSS4G Europe conference that we helped in organize. And also in this case, we were the winners. So we are more or less always the winner. No, I'm joking, obviously. By the way, this year we will be another challenge. And so you can try to win. This time can be your time. When there will be this challenge, this is an official announcement to your lab if you are interested. In July 2015, so in a few months, we are going to have here in Como the FOSS4G Europe. FOSS4G Europe will be a very exciting conference. We will have 6 scientific sessions, a general track, an academic track, a track specific for water, a track for open data, a track for maps at libraries, and an indoor-outdoor positioning track. But apart from that, we will have also some complementary events like practical workshops, like the Hacker Code Sprint, the NASA Whirlwind Europa Challenge that you can participate, and then 4 mapping parties, very interesting, and the Geo for All Labs meeting. So please consider the possibility of coming here in Como, because Como is a very beautiful place, to come here in Como for participating, for attending to the conference. Concluding, I want just to spend a few words about the research activity. We started, as I said before, at the beginning of 2000. And the first relevant example that I can mention to you was the development, or is better, the development of some commons that we developed within the GRASS GIS, were specifically commons related to the LiDAR data filtering and LiDAR data interpolating. And if you're interested, you can find them available in the set of the GRASS commons. And at that time, we started also working on another topic that is WebGIS. WebGIS were enough at the beginning. We had the first WebGIS developed in 2002-2004, was an archaeological WebGIS. Also in this case, you have, if you are interested, this WebGIS that for sure is not so performant as the nowadays WebGIS, but was very nice, was very clear, was very well conceived. So if you are interested here, you can see the URL where you can go and see the WebGIS. Please consider that was a WebGIS of more than 10 years ago. So you have to look at this WebGIS with this point of view. Okay, and at that point, I want to leave the word to the people working with me. They are not all PhD students, just Carolina is a PhD student because Monia and Marco are temporary researchers here at Politecnico de Milano. And they will tell you what are the researches they are doing now.
Good morning, I'm Monia Molinari, and within this presentation I will speak about the global land cover maps. Global land cover data represent a very valuable information because they allow the monitoring of the extension and status of land resources, and they can also give an important contribution to researches on climate changes or sustainable development. To understand the stability of this data in different applications, the knowledge of the classification accuracy is a key factor. So the study that I'm going to present proposes the GIS-Based accuracy assessment on Italian area of the recently produced GlobeLand 30. GlobeLand 30 represents one of the first efforts in mapping the global land cover at 30-meter resolution. It has been produced by the Chinese government, then donated to the United Nations and released as open data at the end of September 2014. The dataset is distributed in a raster format for the 2 baseline years of 2000 and 2010, and it includes 10 types of coverage. With regard to the classification quality, some preliminary tests performed on the China area show values of accuracy of over 80%. According to the guidelines to evaluate the accuracy of a land cover map, we needed to compare it with some reference data of higher quality. At present, the only land cover map covering the whole Italian territory does not satisfy this requirement. But fortunately, some Italian regions produce and make available as open data very detailed land cover maps, which are characterized by a resolution always equal or better than 5 meters. It is important to highlight that these datasets are independent from each other, so they are characterized by different scales and reference systems, and they also refer to different years. The only common characteristics are the format, the vector shapefile, and the thematic legend, which is always based on the Corinne land cover nomenclature. The accuracy analysis is usually performed through a pixel-by-pixel comparison between the classified dataset and the reference one. This comparison leads to the generation of a matrix where the element belonging to the main diagonal represent the correctly classified data, while the off-diagonal elements identify the classification error. From this matrix, we can derive several statistics, and among these, one of the most recommended is the overall accuracy, which indicates the percentage of correctly classified pixels. Despite the existence of software specifically intended for thematic map comparison, we decided to perform the accuracy assessment by means of the open source GIS GRASS. This is due to the fact that, as seen before, the two datasets that we want to compare presents many differences. So before the comparison step, we need to perform the data pre-processing in such a way to make them comparable. In this context, GRASS.js has the advantage to provide both a module for confusion metric calculation and also advanced tools for the geospatial processing. Now let's see the main pre-processing step. The first step is the rasterization of the regional Lankover shapefile by means of the V2RAS module. An important parameter which must be specified during this step is the resolution of the output raster map. In our case, in order to investigate if the choice of the resolution value can affect the result, we decided to create two raster datasets characterized by different resolution and then perform the accuracy assessment on both of them. In particular, we selected the 5-meter and the 30-meter resolution, which are representative of respectively the regional data and the global 30. The reclassification is the other important step because no comparison can be done if the maps have a different thematic classification. So the module reclass allowed us to reclassify the two maps accordingly to common legend. In particular, we selected two schemes of reclassification. The first scheme is based on the 5 general classes of the Korean nomenclature, while the second scheme introduces a greater level of detail by replacing the third category, forest and semi-natural area, with 4 subclasses. At this point, we can compare the dataset to the RK GRASS.js module, which calculated the confusion metrics and the overall accuracy. Then we perform also another comparison. In fact, the global LAN 30 is characterized by a collocation tolerance of 70 meters. This means that a pixel could be located in a buffer of 70 meters with respect to its true position. This partial mismatching could be the cause of errors in the classification process, and this error should be evident at the border between two different classes. So to verify the effect of collocation tolerance on the accuracy result, we remove all the cells belonging to a buffer of 70 meters around global 30 classes border, and then we perform the second comparison. So these are the main processing steps applied to all the dataset. Then there are some case studies which require additional procedures, such as the reprojection or the merging of tiles. And this is the final workflow adopted. This procedure has been automated in a Python script and then applied to all the regional case studies. The graph reports the main result of the study. Considering the more general classification scheme, the values of overall accuracy for the different regions varies between the 80 and the 90%, while, as expected, the introduction of a greater level of detail lead to lower accuracies. In both cases, the removal of data affected by the collocation tolerance allowed improving of the result of about 4 or 5 percentage points. With regard to the future works, first of all, we want to complete the analysis on the remaining Italian regions, and then we want to make some analysis about correlation of error associated with the different classes. Another objective is to improve the Lankover classification quality, taking the advantage of the geocrowdsourcing applications. In fact, we are currently developing a web geo platform to involve citizens in the land cover validation process using high-resolution Italian orthophotos. So now I finish my presentation and I leave the word to Carolina.
Hello everyone, I am Carolina Arias. I'm going to present very briefly our research activities related with geomatics and water-related phenomena. Geomatics means data collection, analysis, interpretation, and visualization of results for all kinds of spatial data information of their surface. It is well known that geomatics provide a set of concepts and tools for the planning and management of water resources, and this is what we have called hydroinformatics or hydrogeomatics. And these fields can range for a variety of subjects, as you can see. So the subjects that we are addressing for water-related problems are those related with Internet GIS technologies, Internet web geoportals providing decision support tools, web access retrieval, and spatial data infrastructures, all of these to store, publish, and discover and the use of data. One of our goals is to create a sort of spatial data infrastructure for water-related problems using free and open source software to guarantee the correct storage of spatial data and standardized means of data discovery and publishing. So this is what we call interoperability. So to guarantee interoperability. So, okay, what is a spatial data infrastructure? An SDI is a base collection of technologies, policies, arrangements that facilitates the availability and access to spatial data. So you may ask yourselves, okay, what type of data are we talking about? Well, when we talk about spatial data related with water phenomena, we usually found two types of data: temporal data and geospatial. So temporal data can be time series. This in particular is data coming from observation and sensors, or water quality data, water level data, meteorological data, reservoir storage, and so on. Generally in formats such as WaterML or CSV. Or you can find it as multidimensional arrays or widget covers representing sensor data, images, fields, terrain, and others over time. When there is also geospatial data that can be more oriented to hydrological studies that at the scale of catchments or more oriented to hydraulics, for example, river channel behavior. This type of data can be found in the typical geospatial data formats such as shapefile, raster, and others. So to transfer the data through the SDI, we need web services. And web services are any software which can make itself available over the internet and uses a standard, in this case XML, that basically encodes the information for machines to read it. So the Open Spatial Consortium, OGC, which is an international spatial standard association, has created web services especially for the exchange of different geospatial data typologies, and the services vary from deliver a map as an image using web map service, to provide the data as a vector using web feature service, as raster using web coverage service, or to provide real-time observation using a sensor observation service. So the data can be provided directly without any transformation using these services, or it could be transformed into processed data without any transformation with the web processing service that can have inside some models or spatial analysis tools without the need to install any software or the knowledge of how the model internally works. So for water data management, it's very important the web processing service and the sensor observation service. The software that we are using is free and open source, offering features and capabilities that can complement and in some cases be superior to their commercial equals. So we are using this software, but there are a lot of FOSS alternatives to carry out the same functions. Now there is a wide community of free and open source software that can be used for the creation of water SDI or any other SDI. So as an example, we have the PoliRisposta project that stands for Civil Protection Tools to support the community affected by floods in the post-event. It's a project under development aiming at the definition of models, tools, and technological solutions for the collection, mapping, and evaluation of post-flood damage data. This project involves the creation of web-based systems, as well as development of capabilities to collect and deliver information of flood damages on building and infrastructures to mobile devices in the field. So this work is expected to support, obviously, the communities in the post-event phase, and it will be contribute to promote risk management culture in areas susceptible to flood risk. So the whole architecture of the system is based on GeoNode, which is a free and open source geospatial content management system that integrates robust social media and cartographic
flexibility.
On GeoNode, registered users can upload,
Just for the circumstances is how I describe
and
it.
share.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like
as well as create maps and use them to build their own web.
To a school that was based in experiential learning, and so
Is there?
we're very huge supporters of that type of.
Sure, I can.
Hi, Allison.
Rafael, I'm hearing some feedback.
Yeah, let me Ben, there is somebody logging as Ben Gerlin. If you can please mute your microphone. Hello, Carolina, can you hear me? Okay, now it's ready. Thank you.
Okay. So the whole architecture of the system is based on GeoNode, which is a free and open source geospatial content management system that integrates robust social media and cartographic tools. So on GeoNode, registered users can upload, publish, search, download, and share using social media, spatial layers, as well as create maps and use them to build their own web application. So for composing and publishing maps, GeoNode uses GeoExplorer, which is a web application based on GeoX framework, open layers, and XGIS library that provides a platform for sophisticated web browser spatial visualization. So on the server side of GeoNode, the geospatial web services are created and administrated by GeoServer that allows users to share and edit geospatial data using open standards. This is how the system looks like. So basically, the users can make layers or maps available through web services, visualize the layers, their geometry and attributes. They can rate and share layers on social media, such as Facebook, Twitter, and others. They also comments about the layers of the maps, have personal profiles, and so on. And as with the layers, the users can also create maps, and these maps have the same functionalities as PoliMi. As the second example, we have the IMMR GeoPortal that stands for Integrated and Sustainable Water Management of Red Tide River System. This GeoPortal allows to visualize, analyze, and compare different planning alternatives for the management of this Red River water system as a result of the multi-criteria decision analysis report. It's a web tool, is GIS-based, that enables the visualization of the project data at different aggregation levels. This includes visualization of the planning alternatives and GIS-based tool to receive notification and share and visualization. So the GeoPortal is a sort of a lightweight SDI. It's similar to the one that is from the Responso project, but in this use Drupal as a content management system instead of GeoNode, taking advantage of the existing GeoServer and open layers models of the and also created a new one called the Ipsos module that allows us to manage the observational data. This is a screenshot of the application in which we have point of markers or interfaces representing the different sectors of interest, in this case, floods control, navigation, or water supply, for example. And if you click on one of these markers, then you can have access to the indicators produced by the multiple criteria decision analysis to visualize the different alternatives of one decision. For example, the amount of water to release from a reservoir and to make the pertinent analysis. So this is it, and thank you for your attention.
So, good morning, Rafael. Good morning, all of you. I'm Dr. Marco Minghini, and I will give you a brief presentation about some works regarding VGI, Volunteer Geographic Information, and Citizen Science projects that we had in the past years. Actually, this is a work made by myself, by Professor Maria Brovelli, and by also Dr. Giorgio Zamboni. So what is, first of all, citizen science? It has been defined as the set of scientific activities where non-professional scientists voluntarily participate in data collection, analysis, and dissemination of a scientific project. Citizen science can be active or passive, whether the user contributes to data collection in a conscious or an unconscious way, and also explicit or implicit, whether data collection is or is not the main purpose of the activity. But the real classification of citizen science is the one that you can see below. So apart from the tradition of the classic citizen science, there is community science that is based on performing scientific measurements and analysis to demonstrate the need of an intervention, mainly to address problems, environmental problems, and citizen cyber science, which concerns the use of scientific tools like computers, GPS receivers, and mobile phones. In turn, citizen cyber science can be classified into volunteer computing, when users basically contribute to a project by automatically downloading some data, some software, by running computations on their computers and then sending back the results to the server. Volunteer thinking, when users perform some classification tasks. A typical example is non-cover validation that Monia mentioned before. And finally, participatory sensing, which is the kind of citizen science we have experience with, and that is centered on the sensor capabilities of modern mobile phones. So some years ago, we started to work on participatory sensing, and of course, we did it from the usual perspective of using FOSS4G. Our purpose was to use FOSS4G to build an architecture which could be usable for participatory sensing activities able to accomplish all these steps that are, so data collection from mobile devices, management of multiple users that could have different privileges on data access and manipulation, the development of web platforms, both in 2 and 3 dimensions, to visualize and interact with the data, and finally, the also implementation of some participative functionalities. So this is the FOSS4G architecture that we developed. As you can see, it is divided in the server side and the client side, and here you can basically see all the software used. So I don't have time to enter the details, but I will briefly try to explain you how it works. So first, I hope you can see my cursor. Data collection is managed by the Open Data Kit, or ODK suite. This is a toolkit that is composed of different modules, mainly the server-side module called Aggregate, which is synchronized with the PostgreSQL database, of course, with the PostGIS spatial extension, and a client-side module that is an Android application called ODK Collect, which allows, of course, to feed the database with the user field register contents. Of course, these contents can be then published as standard WMS or WFS layers from GeoServer, and then they are accessible on the web by means of a number of viewers. So we develop viewers for traditional computers as well as for mobile devices, mainly using OpenLayers and Leaflet JavaScript libraries. Then you see are also NASA Whirlwind, because actually we develop also some 3-dimensional viewer, but this will be part of the last presentation given by Professor Brovelli. So basically, I will show you just the 2-dimensional applications, and all of them will be based on this architecture. So the first application we developed almost a couple of years ago addressed the issue of road pavement damages that at that time was particularly critical in Como City. In that case, we decided to open the participation to all the citizens through an open call. So what people had to do was to use their mobile devices to mainly record the position of the damage using, for instance, the GPS, to report the severity degree of the damage. You can see here low, medium, or high severity, and to take a picture of it. All the data sent by the citizens were then made available in real time on a number of viewers. For instance, this is the one for traditional computers, where, as you can see, according to the severity degree the user has declared on the field, that the damages are represented with green, yellow, or red flags. as a standard, in this case, WMS layer. And as you can see, around each flag, there's also a circle whose radius is equal to the accuracy value that is provided by the mobile device. Clicking on a flag, of course, all the information that the user has collected on the field is displayed. And this is instead an example of a client for mobile devices. So it's basically similar to the previous one. The difference is that, of course, now when you click on a point, you can see the results into a separate page. Well, a second application was instead used to allow users to map architectural barriers divided into stairs, ramps, and pathways, and to determine if they are or if they're not compliant to the Italian legislation that is issued by the Ministry of Public Works. This time we used a different approach because it was a VGI campaign performed by some students of a high school with whom we were collaborating. So we just gave them the instructions on how to use the app without making any further advertisement to the general public as we did before. Sorry, the app is in Italian, of course, because it was conceived for use by an Italian public, but anyway, it's very easy to understand the different steps. So when users compile that form, they can read the official text of the law. So this is actually the real text of the Italian law. And then they have to establish if the architectural barrier, that in this case is a ramp, as you can see here, is compliant or not according to a number of parameters. For instance, in this case, pendenza means a slope that can be at most 8%. Then, for instance, the total height difference that can be at most 3 meters and 20 centimeters, and so on. If it is compliant to all of the parameters, the point, the architectural barrier, appears in green in the web viewer. Otherwise, it is red. And as you can see, that most of them in Como city center are red, so they are not compliant. Another very similar VGI campaign was successfully performed almost 1 year ago to map a set of street furniture elements, basically benches, litter bins, waste belts, and fountains, and so on, with the main purpose of verifying the state of preservation. Another experience, still different, we have comes from an Interreg project we are working on at the moment, which is focused on the cultural and tourism valorization of the areas along Via Regina. What is Via Regina? Via Regina is this road, the road that you can see here in red, which overlooks the west coast of Lake Como in a wonderful naturalistic region that has been historically a fundamental route between Italy and Switzerland, but also throughout Europe. So within this project, we organized a number of so-called mapping parties. So let's say one-day events that are organized ad hoc, in which we involved all the participants in using our app to report a wide range of points of interest, mainly related, of course, to tourism, culture, and services, and so on. Again, the results are published into specific web viewers. This is, for instance, the map party, the viewer for the map party of May 3rd, 2014. And of course, all the points can be queried to access the VGI content that the user has previously registered on the field. The very last slide is about a work we have just started to build an automated procedure for comparing VGI and authoritative raw data sets, specifically OpenStreetMap data and whatever authoritative data the user wants to input. The procedure evaluates OSM raw data quality in terms of both spatial accuracy and completeness. But the good point is that we are building a fully automated procedure on one side, where, however, on the other side, the user can take into account the specific features of the data that he or she is using by customizing the values of the parameters involved. As I said, this work has just started. You can see that now we are building a Grass module in Python that actually implements this procedure. I want just to add that this work also involves Dr. Monia Molinari, so the colleague of mine that has given the presentation before, and also Dr. Peter Mooney from Maynooth University in Ireland, that is, I would say, one of the world best experts on the analysis of OpenStreetMap data. So that's all, and I leave the floor to Maria again.
Thank you to all. I'm very proud of the people working with me, and I want to thank they publicly. And then we come to the last part of the presentation that is about the multidimensional map clients. And as a matter of fact, what I want to show you is how we use virtual globes for presenting multidimensional content. The virtual globe we are using is the NASA Whirlwind software development kit. You see here the main characteristic of this software development kit, but instead of spending words in showing you the characteristic, I prefer to show you a video in which we are seeing the main applications we developed using NASA Whirlwind. So we start with the first one that was related to the valorization, to the usage of historical maps to study and analyze the evolution of the city. And as you can see, this is a double application in which we have two frames. In one frame, there is a traditional WebGIS, the left frame. On the opposite, in the right frame, you can see the virtual globe. There are data.
Maria, sorry to interrupt you. I think it's not showing the video. Can you minimize the slide to see if it is behind on your desktop? Reduce the slide and then see if you maximize the window with the video, see if it can show.
Yes. No. I can try to minimize the resolution of the video. This is one point that I can try. Let me see. Can you see it now?
No, we're still seeing the slide. You have the SDK at the top.
Share new window. That's
No.
No. This one?
Share screen.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, now we can see it. That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we can start again. Sorry for that. Okay, and as I told you, we started with this application for historical map. We have data that we uploaded that are cadastral maps. So you see the yellow map is the cadastral map, and then specific data related to the building and to the shape of the building. But as attribute, we have also the shape of the building in the different years. So what we can see with this application is the evolution in time of the city. You see that there is this light bar, and there are two light bars. When you use the second one we are using now, we can see exactly the buildings that were constructed in that period. Obviously, the two frames can be enlarged as we want. And what are you seeing now is the evolution, because obviously the buildings are changing in their shape in time. And therefore, you see that moving the slide bar, we see how the city is changing. We have the two frames that we can use separately, or we can decide also to synchronize, and enabling the synchronization. Everything we see in one frame can be seen at the same time also in the second frame. When you move on one frame, you move also correspondingly in the second frame. The second application I want to show you is also another application related to historical maps, cadastral maps. Now we are moving to Bellagio, that is a beautiful city on the Lake of Como. And we are overlapping to the actual data, the actual orthophotos. We are overlapping some cadastral map. We have 4 different series of cadastral maps. And you see that we can change them using this slide bar. And obviously we can also make them transparent in such a way that we can see the ancient situation and the actual situation and compare them. Obviously, as it is a virtual globe, we can see all the maps in 2 dimensions, or if we prefer, in 3 dimensions. Or better 4 dimensions, because we have also the time to play with. Then we can use also this application for developing something that is related to tourism or cultural exploitation. This is always the area of Como. What you see is the path of the boat and the docks on the lake. You can move in the WebGIS. You can upload other kind of maps. This is, for instance, a touristic map. Or moving in the virtual globe, you can also see some details, like, for instance, monuments that are close to Como or in Como, the ancient villas that are in Como. We will see after how to introduce this kind of information. Or you can also see some phenomenon or some specific event you want just to highlight, like, for instance, in this case, we wanted to publish the places, the location where it is possible to swim or not. And obviously, we are free to choose the icons we want to use, to change their color, to change their flashing, and so on. But apart from that, we can use also NASA Whirlwind, this virtual globe, customizing it for scientific purposes. In this case, you are seeing an example of an application we developed, that it's a web analyzer in space of time of environmental parameters. In this case, it is the sea temperature. It is a solid model that we can navigate into. You see that in this case, we are changing the depth, and we are able to see the value of the sea temperature at different depth. Or we can change the latitude or the longitude. That means we can cut the model with respect to the longitude and the latitude and see what happens inside the model itself. Or, as it depends also on time, we can also change the time, and you see the variation in time of the sea temperature. But this is not enough. You can also see the values of the sea temperature corresponding to different profiles. The profile is given by the red curve that you can see. And then you can also extract from the data a single value corresponding to a single voxel. The element that you can see, the basic element that you can see is named a voxel, that is the dynamic voxel, where the voxel is the 3-dimensional pixel. Okay, so this is another example, also built up using as basis NASA Whirlwind, but obviously you have to develop something more for obtaining such a kind of application. Here you can see another interesting point, another interesting characteristics. Like many other clients, it is possible also in this case to connect it to web map service, and therefore you can better contextualize your data, taking advantage of the already existing values. Okay, so this is the environmental space and time web analyzer, and then I come to the last application, that is PoliCrowd 2.0. PoliCrowd 2.0 is related to what Dr. Minghini before showed us, so the possibility of sharing contents. It is a bit more because, as a matter of fact, it is a platform allowing you to upload a different kind of layers in the same application, different kind of web map service, and at the same time to connect to different ODK server. The ODK server are the server providing the content as was shown before by Marco Minghini. Then once you have connected to the ODK server, you can decide which kind of icons you want to use for your specific application. And now your application is more or less ready. You are more or less finished the configuration of your application. Okay, and now you can start analyzing the elements of your three-dimensional WebGIS. Clicking on one of these icons, you see that, for instance, this is a monument and some multimedia content were introduced. But if you want to add something more, for instance, a video, if you are a registered user, you can do that. And then at this point, not only the original content is shown in your WebGIS, but also the new content that you have just added. And obviously, you can view all the contents, the video, the audio, the comments, or the pictures that you or somebody else has inserted. Then there is also a possibility of changing the time with a slide bar, selecting exactly the content that were uploaded at a certain time. So this is the end of our presentation, and we want to thank you. As a matter of fact, we presented a lot of different applications, starting from desktop, going to services, web services. We hope that this presentation was informative for you, and we want to thank you and say hello to all of you.
Okay, we have time for one or two questions. Any questions so far? Those of you remotely, if you can type your question, the conference manager will record it. While we get some, Maria, could you please briefly comment about the level of usage of FOSS4G in Europe and in Italy? Here in the United States, most of cities, counties, private companies use private software such as ArcGIS. What is the level of usage of FOSS4G in Europe in general and specifically in Italy?
Oh, generally it is increasing. Many years ago, there was a low interest about FOSS4G, but in time, this interest has grown up. And for instance, I can mention you an example in case, in the Italian case, the Ministry of Environment is using free and open source software for their application. And this is just an example. So there are many administrations that are now considering as enough mature and therefore usable the free and open source software. So it's no more just an idea. They are really used by many administrations at the moment.
What about in terms of teaching, for example, in universities in general? I know in the Politecnico de Milano you use a lot for free and open source software, but what about in general in the universities in Italy?
Well, in university also you can find, the most of people teach both proprietary and free and open source software. ArcGIS is taught in every university. I think that it's a a good product also. And but at the same time, in the most of university, also free and open source software is taught. It depends then on the specific university considering to go to teach using GIS or Quantum GIS or GRASS. So there are so many products today available that every university decide which specific software use. But in my opinion, the quantity of time that students spend with open source is more or less the same as they spend with the proprietary software.
All right, excellent. So we are out of time, but we want to thank you, and we really, really appreciate for all of you to take the time out of your busy schedules. You as Vice Chancellor, I know you have all kinds of appointments and things. And again, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you, Carolina. Carolina is, and I have to clarify, Carolina is a current PhD student. And then now Marco and Monia are doctors, so I know them from some years back when they were PhD students, but yeah, I have to clarify they are now associate researchers and full doctors over there. So thank you again, Monia, thank you, Marco, and Giorgio, even if you were not there. We really appreciate your time. And everyone, these will be posted on the FOSS4G website. This recording, as well as the slides and the video, will be there within a week. So if you want to download them and take a look closely, they will be posted within a week. Thank you again, everyone. Any last words, Maria?
Oh, thank you, Rafael. We were very happy to give this webinar. And good afternoon to everybody. See you next time. And if you have any question, please write us.
Great, thank you so much. So we're stopping the recording now.